Greetings from the far side of the galaxy. I'm Fury, your host with the most to tell you a story about titties. I usually make a titty joke around here, but honestly, I've got nothing. The name of this series is Housamo Heroes, where I walk you through everything you need to know about a certain transient. Be sure to like and subscribe. Maybe check out the video I did over Seth. I think it's pretty cool. It'd also be pretty cool if you left whichever transient you want next in the comments below. Okay, well, slight lie, it's actually the next Housamo hero because next week's has already been decided. Thunderbird will be our next Housamo hero. Okay, that's a slight lie too. If everything goes to plan, God willing, you should get an Elden Ring video next week, so there's still some time to decide. Thunderbird is currently leading the pack, but I am looking at the transients from the new banner respectfully. However, today we are respectfully covering someone else. Today's Housamo hero is the Deadly Woman, the Femme Fatale. Wait, that just means the same thing. It's Hakumen. Today we're covering Hakumen. For the first time in a while, our Housamo hero was actually in the main story. So here's your spoiler warnings for chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. Got it? Good, because we have a video to start. Hakumen is a fox transient from the land of Wa, the world based on ancient Japan. And she is also from Harai, the world based on ancient China. It's this whole mess. It's complicated. I'll just explain it later, okay? She goes to Roppongi Academy and is a member of the Roppongi Tycoons, leading one of the major factions. Shalat is her bodyguard, and Sathogawa is that guy who lives in her house. Well, not her house, her underground casino. It features quite heavily in the main story. Her artifact is a whip, or more specifically, a cat o' nine tails, a special kind of whip with multiple tails that was often used as a torture device. Her artifact has the ability to produce flames and, more importantly, enthrall anyone she hits with it, which suits Hakumen's nature as a domineering woman. As some of you may have guessed, Hakumen is inspired by the Kitsune, a very popular Japanese yokai that was said to grow stronger as it aged, gaining one tail every century to signify its power. At its weakest, the Kitsune was supposed to be skilled with illusions, and at its strongest, the Kitsune was supposed to be able to bend time and space. These inspirations appear to be superficial, as Hakumen doesn't have any power over illusions, let alone time and space. Although it's worth noting that the dude living at her house does, giving her indirect access to those abilities. More specifically, she's based on the fictional kitsune known as Tamamo no Mai and many other names. You might recognize the name Kaio since that's the name Liferunners gave to her. Oh right, yeah, we'll save that for the summary. Back to the point, she originates from a variety of stories called the Togizoshi, aka prose novels, and the Konjaku Heiyaki Shui by Toriyama Sakine. As the story goes, Tamamo no Mai was a temptress, enthralling emperors and leading to the downfall of empires. Under the name of Daji, she led to the fall of the Shang dynasty in China before fleeing after being caught. In Magadha, India, she assumed the name of Kaio, where she was consort to king, known as Hanzoku in Japan. After being chased out of there and going back to China, she took the name Baozi and went back to her usual shtick. She escaped again, and after a brief 7th century sabbatical, she went to Japan to take up her most famous name, Tamamo no Mai. Long story short, she was found by old people and taken to imperial court where they were taken by her. She was given the name Tamamo no Mai by Emperor Toba and promptly began to drain the life out of him until she was caught. Blah blah blah, army chased her, she was eventually killed or sealed in a rock. Earlier this year, the rock was broken, freeing her spirit to wreak havoc on the world once more. She promptly saw that we were doing a just fine job of wrecking the world without her and began a depressive spiral. She was found dead April 1st in a tragic case of drunken jaywalking. A moment of silence, please. Alright, that's enough. Joke's not that funny. From the start, we can actually see a lot of inspiration or, well, lifting from the legend. Hakumen is Tamamo no Mai. She says so for herself. Before coming to Tokyo, she was a manipulator who felled empires for lols. Her artifact's ability to make fire may seem weird and extra until you remember Kitsune B, or as they were also known, Foxfire. In Oji of Tokyo's Kaito Ward, it said all the foxes would gather to party in Oji Inari's palace, lighting torches to celebrate. In Yamagata and Akita Prefecture, there were said to be torches lit at foxes' marriages and a good omen. Despite her whip being a cat's 9 tails, foxes are actually canines. I suppose that's just a cheeky reference to Hakumen having 9 tails. The bear trap that features prominently on her sprite and artwork might also be a reference to Hakumen's nature as a honey trap for the rich and powerful. Her charge skill phrase, Kisai Sangoku, refers to the 3 names she took as she corrupted emperors. Also, I looked into the term foxy being a stand-in for sexy, and it has nothing to do with Hakumen. The English term foxy apparently came from the Middle Ages, when a writer complained about skirts being so tight women would have to use foxtails to hide the outline of their butt. So yeah, it has no relation to Hakumen at all, it's just a thing 2 different cultures shared. On that semi-awkward note, we're done with her inspiration, so let's take a look at her in-game backstory. Here's the weird thing, while she's listed as being from the land of Wa, she actually appears to be from Harai. Hakumen's backstory goes a little something like this. It all began when Nuwa was insulted by a nobleman. It all began when the Chinese mother goddess and Housamo exile Nuwa was insulted by the emperor. It's not really elaborated on in-game, but get this, in the myth he wrote a poem on her wall about how much he wanted to blow her back out. I may sound like I'm lying, but no, that is actually how it goes. Nuwa gets understandably pissed, and in the myth she sends Hakumen after him. In-game, she does that in addition to waging war on the world. The source material and Housamo diverge even more from this point on. According to Fuji in Chapter 12, Nuwa actually gave away the gambit, betraying Hakumen for unknown reasons. From what I can tell, this is where Hakumen fled to the land of Wa before eventually being transported to Tokyo. In Tokyo, she became a member of the Tycoons, built a casino, enlisted Cholat and Sethogwa, and that's where we find her in-game. Now that we're done with the backstory, we are now at the summary. To avoid having another Seth, I'm changing the way we do these summaries. For events, I'll go ahead and cover the entire thing, but for main characters, it'll be much quicker. She first appears as the main antagonist of Chapter 5, Tycoon's Prelude, when Claude invites the player to Tokyo Casino. At first, it's a battle to win back Ifrit's heart, but then it's a battle to escape when her casino falls under attack. After disappearing, she returns in Chapter 6 with Babylon's Shadow Army in tow, seeking to take revenge on Ophion. She closes out Chapter 6 by helping out with the exception and bidding the player farewell. She doesn't show up in Chapter 7, but her shadow Kaio does. She challenges the player and the Tycoons to a battle it promptly loses. Hakumen proper makes a return in Chapter 8 to help with the Otomachi exceptions and kind of disappears into the ether after that. She's mentioned in Chapter 9, having bought Cholat a new pair of eyes as a gift and sending him to Kamata to pick them up. She next appears in Chapter 10 after having escaped some tax collectors sent by the invaders. Can a woman commit some tax fraud in peace? SMH, they just can't stand to see a girl boss win. She then sends out Cholat to deliver some information to the player at Penitentia. Later in the same chapter, she actually becomes the narrator, telling us her backstory, which is where we learn a lot about Nuwa. That concludes her role in the story so far as it's been translated. She also features heavily in the Valentine's Jail event, which I'll get to talking about when we get to our units, which is right now. First up are 3 and 4 stars, which are fire sword type units. They're the same even down to their skill evolution. Her first skill is Binder. It takes a little CP from hit enemies and inflicts bind at 56%, which is hot ass. After that is Ruler, which affects allies in a 2 square diamond radius at phase start. While that range may be good, it doesn't give nearly enough CP to actually be useful. Then there's Blood of the Beast. You know what it does. 100% proc for tenacity after moving. Not good, but I'll accept it. Lastly, Cajoler takes a lot of CP and inflicts charm on hit, but at 16% proc it's hot fucking garbage. Hakumen might be the best example I've ever seen of an old unit. A bunch of generic skills that quite frankly aren't that good. Thankfully, she gets some damn spiffy skill evolutions, the first of which is called Binder Plus, and it replaces, you guessed it, Binder. It keeps her so-so bind proc, but gives her an attack modifier for bind and makes her immune to it. It's a definite step up since it gives her an attack boost from bind, at least forming some kind of strategy for her unit. Cajoler Plus is her other skill evolution. It actually improves her charm odds to 36%, which is still bad, but better. It also buffs the CP loss to 80%, which is so damn good. Lastly, it gives a 70% chance to inflict charm in a 1 square diamond radius at phase start, which is just okay. The fact that Hakumen needs to be fully leveled up and 2 skill evolutions just to be passable is actually a huge problem. Like, I get it, Life Funders, just because Hakumen has ass doesn't mean her units needed to be ass. Next up is our limited unit from the Valentine's Jail event. This unit came about when in the event story she helped Aizen stage a Valentine's coup against Ophion. Despite being a warden, she was mostly in it for the lols and to see the conclusion to Aizen's repressed love. This one also has a skill evolution, although I'm not sure if that bodes very well or very poorly. Her first skill, Love Trapper, is ripped straight from her regular unit. No, wait, it's worse. It has slightly lower chances of inflicting bind. Why? Soul Shooter gives her an attack boost against Berserk despite not being able to inflict Berserk at all. What? She has Ruler again, already told you what that does, same for Cajoler and Cajoler Plus. The only skill evolution that's actually unique to this unit is Soul Shooter Plus. No, wait, Citri has that too. It keeps the pointless Berserk attack up and gives her 100% proc for giving allies in thrust range arousal. Huh, she gives arousal to allies in thrust range. I feel like there's an easy joke there. I know I already pulled this joke like, what, a minute ago? But I'm using it again. Just because Hakumen has ass doesn't mean her units needed to be ass. What teams do I recommend? None. How do I suggest you play them? Don't. Hakumen's regular unit is passable at best, and her limited unit is somehow worse than that. I know I give Summer Tigre shit, but his skills at least make sense character-wise, needing him to risk it all on proccing guts. It doesn't make for a very good unit, but it makes a lot of sense for the tiger obsessed with sacrifice and living on the edge. Hakumen's on the other hand mean nothing, and they're just bad. Something, insert funny transition now that we're winding this video down with Hakumen's relationship chart. First off, Gandharva likes her because he is a chronic gambling addict and she's the one that owns the casino. Yumao likes her because they're business partners in most things, particularly the water park from the Desert Journey event. Maria dislikes her because gambling, cheating, seduction, destroying empires, and thralling people, among other things, are sins. On the other hand, Hakumen likes Shalad because that's her bottom. Bodyguard, that's what I said, bodyguard. She also likes Ziz because Hakumen advocates for giving into one's instincts, and she also likes her singing voice. She dislikes Gabriel because she's jealous of her popularity and dislikes Shenong for having Nuwa's banner sacred artifact. That's a whole story I'll get to when we do the Shenong video. I actually rate Hakumen really highly as a character, up there with Seth, if only because we get to learn about the exiles from them. I do hope we get an actual answer as to why Nuwa betrayed her. It's good the story at least treats her well because her units... Yikes, just yikes, man. All in all, I gotta give Hakumen Fury's official seal of approval. Oh, and before I forget, while she does have a loading screen, I'm unable to find a translation, so the fun fact is that Hakumen roughly translates into white face. Do be sure to like and subscribe for our next Housamo hero and stick around for some of the gaming videos I have planned. I have plans for Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, No More Heroes, Kingdom Hearts 3, but for the love of God, don't ask me when they'll be out. With nothing more to say other than leave whichever Housamo hero you want next in the comments and whatever kind of content you'd like to see, I guess I end it here. As always, this is your host Fury, signing out.